Welcome to part 2 of the podcast we are calling Scamming and Hacking for Dummies. I'm Bertram de Souza, host of the Scribbler Publishing Group video podcast and retired editorial page editor and Sunday columnist for the now closed Youngstown Vindicator. I'm also the author of the book No Holds Barred that's dedicated to the 150-year-old newspaper. It can be purchased at Barnes & Noble and at www.scribblergroup.com. And I am the dummy, as you'll find out later. Part 1 of the podcast featured cybersecurity expert Dr. Rima. Part 1. I'll go back to
You're alive. Come on.
I thought that was
part one of the. I'll go back to that.
Yeah.
Part 1 of the podcast featured.
I'm sorry. Can you start again?
Okay.
I was still talking. Sorry about that.
That's right.
All right. When you're ready.
Part 1 of the podcast featured cybersecurity expert Dr. Dima Rabadi, assistant professor of cybersecurity at Penn State Shenango's Department of Information Sciences and Technology. In addition to pointing out what I did wrong in becoming the victim of a scammer and hacker, Dr. Rabadi also provided some important information as to how individuals can navigate cyberspace without getting into trouble. Because my experience has resulted in my life being turned upside down, I, along with members of the Scribbler Publishing Group podcast production team, have decided to try and retrace the steps that resulted in my being scammed. We will call the telephone number that appeared on a prompt on my desktop computer that said my account I was attempting to open had been illegally infiltrated, resulting in my account being frozen. The message asked me to call the number in order to deal with the hackers. I did call and 4 hours later realized I had been scammed. So here goes. We will attempt to recontact the individuals by calling the numbers again. I am joined by Billy Carrier, director of the Triad Production Group, a division of 21 WFMJ. Billy spends all his day working on computers, so I will attempt to ask him. I had them, 3 of them spend their time here. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Ready?
Want me to rewrite that real quick and just.
I'm being ready, Andy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm being joined by Billy Carrier, director of the Triad Production Group, a division of 21 WFMJ. Billy spends most of his day working on computers, so I'll ask him to give me a take on how I allowed myself to be scammed, why it occurred, and how I can prevent it from happening in the future. I'll let Billy introduce himself, and then we'll make the telephone call. So Billy's going to introduce himself before we make the phone call.
Hi, I'm also a dummy. So I work on computers every day, but I think everybody's susceptible to this. But I work here at Triad Production, and I'm the honor of working with this man every day. But this is an interesting one that we were trying to figure out in the office, like how they got into your system, and it sounded like.
Yeah, and then frankly, after I realized, after 4 hours of talking to this individual, I realized that I had been scammed and hacked, and he had gotten into my banking information and all of that. I called you guys, and you immediately said, hang up, unplug your computer,
call everybody,
turn off
cancel,
Wi-Fi.
shut everything off.
And I did.
DEFCON 5.
It was scary because this was on a Friday. And so I was looking forward to the entire weekend where I didn't know how much information they had gleaned from my laptop and my telephone and my desktop. And I didn't know what they were going to do over the weekend. And and I came over here immediately to seek your advice because I didn't know what the hell to do.
Yeah, they're getting more and more sophisticated with that all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we're going to try and do is call the number that I had originally called. Mm-hmm. And then see if somebody comes on the phone. And
what was the guys just like when you called before? What they were saying that you had somebody had gotten into your PayPal account, and they were posing as PayPal.
Right.
Right. So, so when you called, you were like, "Hey, somebody got in my account. I got an email from you guys," or.
Yeah, and that's what happened. Is I went on my desktop and did the thing I have done for the last 3 years to access that account. And I got this prompt on the desktop that says, your account has been frozen because of illegal activity. And I wasn't sure about that, so I went back and did another search, Google search, went on Google and tapped on the link to log in, and got the same prompt, and that's when I called the number.
Yeah.
After 3 years of doing the same thing, you don't think there's something going on that's, that's sort of iffy.
Yeah.
And it didn't dawn on me that, this could be a scam.
That's the best scam if they can get you to call them. You're not thinking. If somebody calls me, I'm going to think.
And exactly, that's the exact words. And it's almost like I'm talking to the scammer, because he said because I said, how do I know I'm talking to a legitimate person? And he said, you called me. Those were the exact words. So, I realized, and that's what I let my guard down, because I'm thinking, okay, yes, I called him. So let's try and make the call, and then see where we go from there.
555 missing.
No. Yeah, we're not going to give out this number. That's interesting.
Thank you for calling. How can I help you?
To whom am I speaking, please?
This is Ben.
And what company are you with?
Sir, this is Microsoft.
Microsoft.
Uh-huh.
And because I got a message to call this number because of...
a message to call this number, sir?
Yes. Because of trouble with my account, and so I'm calling it, but it's not a Microsoft account. Hello? Hello, you there? Did he say just a second? Are you there?
Is PayPal?
Hello, are you there? Oh. Let's try one more time.
I wonder if it's going to...
What?
Now subscriber you were trying to reach is not available. Please leave your message after the tone.
You say text mail?
They're on to you.
Let's try one more time, but we'll dial it again.
I'm off camera right now. I'm just controlling this stuff. But that's one thing that's actually common. There's like several different companies that they...
Could you go on tape and just say that while you're talking?
You do it right now.
Okay.
Okay.
The man behind the curtain.
Yeah, the man behind the curtain with the microphone.
Introduce yourself, please.
I'm Andy. I'm the
Andy
technical
Kunkel.
director. Andy
Yes.
Kunkel, the technical director of this podcast.
Right.
One thing that's common is even on my personal emails, I keep on getting same emails saying your Norton antivirus subscription has been renewed. It is $395, or your Microsoft account has been renewed. It's $395. If this is wrong, please call this number. And that's what they do. So when he answered Microsoft, that is the third company that they gave you.
Okay. Yes.
I remember initially
They said the first time it was they said PayPal. The second time they said Amazon. When I was here, I called that number.
When we said hang up.
Hang up. And now it's Microsoft.
Yeah, and he hesitated.
Yes.
So
Didn't he say something different when you talked to him the first time? Didn't he like say something else, and then you were like, I'm a PayPal, and then he's like, didn't he change his story when you talked to him the first time?
No, but he answered, and I said, I'm calling in regard to my PayPal account, and he said, yes, you're calling the right number.
Yeah. So yeah, that's probably a good tip. If whoever answers the phone doesn't say hi, so and so.
Well,
whatever company, they're like, yes,
That
hello.
was definitely
Why
one
did
of
you
the
call me?
more professional sounding scammers,
Yes.
because the last time they answered you when you were
Yes.
here,
Yes.
all they said was, hello?
Hello. Yep.
And hi, who am I speaking with?
Well, one
5
of the
seconds
things.
go by,
I think one of the things the viewers, if they go to part 1 and see the conversation with Dr. Rabadi, the one thing I did learn is you cannot go onto your links just doing a Google search. You actually have to go to their official website in order to access your information and your account. I mean, that's one thing. Let's try one more time and see what happens. Okay. Maybe this time you can talk.
I can talk, yeah.
Okay. So this is like fun. Okay.
All right, let's see what happens. You're having way too much fun with this, Bertram.
The number you are trying to reach is no longer in service.
I
They're
bet
on
if they
to-
blocked this number.
That was
That-
it's probably what company did it say? That
He said text mail or something like
Yes.
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
they
I just wanted to
they
have fun with
ditched
them.
the number.
I was going to answer like, hey man, is this
Oh.
Google? I'm calling for Google. Said that I have to come give
Yeah.
you money.
They're on to you.
This poor guy. No, he's like a
They're
hardworking
scared of you,
scammer.
Bertram.
Yeah.
You know, but see, that's the thing. It's so interesting that.
Did she say if you called somebody on your cell phone, could they reverse like I know like phones are more
No, see,
vulnerable than people
my
realize.
problem was the laptop I used,
Mm-hmm.
the desktop I used, and my phone were all so old that there were no setup protections. Like the new phone I got as a result of the scam is they will not be able to infiltrate it or get into it, even if I called. My problem was when I originally called on my cell phone, he took over access of my cell phone because he was trying to because after 3 hours the cell phone was going to cut off automatically.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, don't worry, my computer will take over your cell phone and I can talk to you through my computer."
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, that's
You will have no more.
that's
control. Yeah, that looks
so
like we won't
yeah,
be able to
and
call
I
them
and I
back.
think that's where this whole thing has gotten, you know, really, beside the fact that it's really become expensive just to get rid of all my stuff and buy new equipment and all of that. You have to change all the passwords, to change all the user, you know, names. You know, I've changed my bank accounts. I've changed all the other financial institutions I have. I've had to change all those accounts. It's been hours and hours. And here's one thing I have found out, and I will tell people this. You're going to find out, if ever you are a victim like I am, is that it is impossible to talk to a human being for wherever you're calling. I call banks, I call other financial institutions, I called Vonage for my telephone service, long-distance telephone service, and you'll get one person who'll say, "Okay, we'll connect you to your new accounts department," and it's a computer. And finally, I was screaming last night into the phone, "I want to talk to a damn person." And I said, if you're recording this conversation, be aware. I'm sick and tired of that. And in fact, when I was, you know, trying to redo with one of my financial institutions, I said to them, I said, you know, I've just been hacked. How do I know if I'm giving you all my information that I'm not going to get scammed again?
Yeah.
And he said, well, you know, you called us. And I said, yeah, I did the same thing with
I
the other
also called
person.
them.
So I said, I need to talk to somebody face to face. Why can't I go to your closest office and sit down with an individual? And the answer was, well, they might not have the answers that you need. I can help you, but you have to go through this process. So, you know, once you're gun shy,
Yeah. And there's a lot of businesses now that after the pandemic that have tried to make it easier for you to work from your home.
Right.
And yeah, even before that, though, the banks were trying to make it so that you didn't go in and speak with somebody unless you were opening an account or
Right,
doing something.
right.
But as far as like, you know, depositing a check and things like that. That's stuff you would do through an ATM, and heck, now they have like you can take a picture of a check. If somebody pays you with a check, you take a picture of it. I know my bank does that, and it will put it into your account because it takes all the information. You don't even have to have the physical check. So they're
How secure is online banking, online financial transactions?
In my experience, it's pretty secure. Like, I haven't ran into any issues. So usually when you actually call for assistance, it is frustrating that there is a lot of computers and stuff like that.
Yes.
But that is, in essence, a buffer zone in a way, because they also need to make sure that you're not somebody who's trying to attack them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you actually do need something, then yeah, that you're willing to wait and stuff like that. And whenever you usually do actually talk to somebody who is working with them, they'll say, hey, thank you for calling Premier Bank. This is Andy. I'm just using that as an example. How can I help you today? And they usually have a prompt that they follow to let you know that they're there to help you. I mean, obviously, I'm not sure scammers, just all these YouTube videos and stuff that I've seen, that scammers usually are like even the one that you called a month ago.
Yeah.
Saying it was just one word, hello. That's a
Yes.
telltale sign
Yes.
that is not somebody legit.
Yeah. And it was interesting how after that call, all of a sudden
he turned around and blocked this
Blocked
number.
it.
Yeah.
And it's that number's down. We can't call that number anymore.
anymore.
Yeah.
Got to go straight to the voicemail. I think another thing too is that I think they take advantage of. I've almost gotten scammed once, and how they almost got me was I got a message, and if you order a lot of things through Amazon, which I was expecting some things through Amazon, I got a message where it was posing as though it was a text, FedEx. It wasn't, but they were posing as, and I'm like, hey, we're having trouble getting this to your Amazon package to you, click here, and I almost did it. And what they're doing is playing the odds that most people have an Amazon package probably on the way.
Exactly.
So that you just
Yes.
blanket send
Yes.
that out, and
Yeah.
everybody that clicks on it, they go in, they probably take control. I almost did it. I was like, what the heck are we? What problem could it be? And it's, but it's when you look at it, because you get you'll get the numbers. It's from 88022. And it's like it's like, but yeah.
I think the thing that saved me when he accessed my desktop and was able to look at my bank account information, that fortunately the bank only has the last 4 digits, and because of that he knew he was not going to be able to do anything if after the conversation, and that's why he asked me if I had access to crypto or to gift cards in order to put money into the account to fool the scammers, and the amounts of money he said that was being taken out of that account was $989, $886, and $799. And he said, you can either do it through crypto, put this amount into your account, or go out and get some gift cards in these amounts, 3 gift cards, and put them into the account.
Oh,
if you show up at like a drugstore or and you're buying gift cards that have a blank, you can put whatever you want on it. A lot of stores have put limits on it for that. And I even heard recently at a drugstore, somebody was trying to get a couple of gift cards, and the woman behind the counter asked, is somebody asking you to do this to pay something online?
Right.
And he's like, oh, no, I'm giving out gifts.
Oh, okay.
But so they're I think some of the businesses, I don't know if she was just doing it out of the goodness of her heart, or if this is something that the business, that this drugstore does. But I think people are becoming more aware of it, and now they've moved on to crypto. Is interesting because that's another one that people are like, they don't really,
One thing I think there's a couple of scammer payback channels. So I was playing in Mario. That what he would do, because apparently there's another scam where they will make it look like it's legit by letting you deposit some of their money into your account so they can properly give you the right amount.
Oh.
And there's a scammer that would play a prank on them and said, okay, you said give me $40. He's like, yes, sir. Just go ahead, type 40, and the guy would just press 4 and actually press 4 more zeros. So he took $40,000 from the
Jeez.
scammer. So the guys, and usually, and the guys would freak out at him and stuff, which is kind of funny. But that's one thing. Usually, I'm not saying that all people are pleasant on the phone to work with, but if the people start to get very hostile very quickly, you just, even if it's with a company that might be legit, just your best bet is just to try to ask for somebody else, or
Right.
even just to hang up.
I saw, yeah.
Even with a legit company, it's always best to ask for somebody else. But if usually in a scam, the scammers
They start getting pushy.
very pushy, and also very hostile.
Right.
I heard a really funny video. It was a woman who was messing with one of the scammers, and she's pretending to go through all the.
Right.
And she was pretending to walk into Target, and she was sitting in her house recording it the whole time. And then as she's like, "All right, I have the card," and she's like, "Oh, they have a really good sale. I'm going to get something." And the guy started getting like, "Ma'am, no, ma'am, I need you to focus on this, or we're going to shut everything down." "Well, let me just get this real quick." She's like, "Oh, I've used the card. I need to get another one. How much did you say?" Well, I just kept messing with this guy until he finally caught on that she was messing with him. But yeah, he got very pushy.
And I think what happens is it's psychological. And now it's like, you know, when you're assaulted and you're walking, and every time you walk in the dark or you're walking down a street, you look over your shoulder, you hear footsteps, and it's just that whole thing. And so psychologically, that's why I sort of keep insisting I need to talk to human beings. But what struck me in our conversation in part 1 with Dr. Rabadi was we were talking about scamming and hackers. And she talked about honest hackers. And in courses at Penn State Shenango, in her department, they're actually teaching students how to be hackers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and I understand you have to, at a certain point, trust human beings and trust humanity.
To do the right thing.
But listen, if you teach me how to break into the most unbreakable into car and show me how to, you know, to start it without keys or a fob, yeah, at some point in my life, I'm going to think, okay, I learned this. Let me see if I can use it for my own benefit. And
it,
you start.
It just comes down to the honor system, I guess.
Well, but she and I was surprised when she said, "Oh yeah, we need those honest hackers in order for institutions, financial institutions, companies, and all of that to be able to figure out what's going on within their systems, and how vulnerable they are to being hacked. So you need these people who know how to hack to come in. But when you have that information is power, especially in cyberspace. So when you have that kind of power, you know, how easy it is for you to cross over into the dark side.
Yeah, as I say, I'm no expert per se, but you know, like Pegasus is a program that was used to hack a lot of people's phones. It's a legitimate. You can buy into it. It's a legitimate, like, program. I'm looking at, you know, it looks like it's about $500,000 to buy in back in 2016. And I'm told that there's now a new one. Like this one, you had to click on something for them to be able to get into your phone. Mm-hmm. But it's not. I don't think it was meant to be something that they would hack your phone. It was more like to track for marketing or say, you know, things like that. I believe, if I'm not, because it's a legitimate company. I want to say it's in Israel that developed it. And now but you had to click on something with that one. Now with the new one that they have coming out, you don't. They target your number. They can get into your phone, and that's more of like getting into your photos and your information. And that's why, like, when you're, you know, if you're putting your password in on your phone, it doesn't show up on screen because they're just monitoring. People could potentially monitor anything that you have on the screen of your of your phone. And that's crazy to think. You know, that's, you know, you pull up people could look into your camera, and like right now, somebody could access my camera where my phone, you know, computer wouldn't even know it. Like technically, I should know it because a little light should come on. But there's ways around that, you know. When
we first got these computers, the updated ones that have the little eye for the camera, right? Everybody in the newsroom, when when we were publishing. Everybody in the
Kept
newsroom
covering it.
thought that the owners were monitoring our activities, and so they put tape, the tape, black tape over over the eye, because they didn't want. They thought that people were watching them.
Yeah.
I don't know. So you guys, both you and Andy and Megan, who couldn't join us, Megan Christensen, work with computers every day. You're on there day in, day and night. What precautions do you take? How do you ensure safety?
I think the big thing is, and most companies try to force you to do it, and after that, when you got your new stuff, I won't say even say who you were, but they wanted you to do the identification and have, so I have it kind of set up to where if it detects that I'm, which can be frustrating, like Andy said at times, all the steps you have to go through. But if I go into any of my accounts from a computer or an IP address that it doesn't recognize, I'm going to get a text and an email. I have other ways I need to confirm that
okay.
It's not that it's not impossible, but they would have to know a lot to get into my, and then the other thing that I don't do enough, but now I am after hearing her speak, was I changed my passwords.
That's another thing. Yeah.
And that's I went through
I think I need to change a few of my passwords.
Do you?
After
I went through my Facebook account, and I have 3 people that I'm Facebook friends with that there are 2 accounts for them, and that could be, sometimes people will hack, like your friend, and then they'll send you a friend request, and you've lost track. Like, I thought I was already friends with so and so, and you click accept, but now they can see everything you post. And that's not really them.
Right.
So I got to reach out to them. And it's like, hey, which one of these is yours? And it's so easy to get, like, I could get your picture off of Facebook, and then send that to, if I'm a hacker, and then send that to all your friends, and they're like, oh, Bertram, he was hacked recently. Maybe he changed. He had a new Facebook account. I'll accept it. And they're not paying attention, but they can now see everything that that person posts. And sometimes people put things on there, like
Yep. Exactly.
My uncle's Facebook was hacked one time, and I got a message from him saying, "Hey, Andrew, how are you?" I'm like, first off, he never calls me Andrew. And then I was like, "I'm okay. How are you?" "Oh, not so good. I am with my family in the United Kingdom. I need some money. We're stuck here. Our wallets were stolen. I need money to get home." And me, I'm thinking, really? And then I lean back in the office chair, and then I look out the window, and I see my uncle mowing his grass. I'm like, you don't say. Is it sunny over there?
So I'll tell you another thing that's spooky is those smart cameras everybody's put in their house.
Yep.
I mean, this is nothing new, but it's scary to think that people have hacked those and messed with people and messed with people's kids. There was there's been some examples where I say.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's connected to your Wi-Fi, it's connected to the internet, so.
That's why you always need to have passwords on your Wi-Fi at all times.
And
You need to have what? The
Password on your Wi-Fi at all times, and you need like characters, you need numbers.
Right.
It can't just be one word. Like you just need to do that stuff. And and that was the scare a couple of years ago. Like guys hacking these nanny cams and stuff, saying, "Hey, it's Santa Claus" or something like that. And
talking to the kids or scaring them just to be mean. Some of them are just trying to be mean.
And I don't mind. I'm frustrated because of what has happened, and so when I make these calls to all of these companies that I've been talking to for the last 4 weeks, and not being able to talk to actual human beings. In fact, with Vonage, the telephone service, the long distance telephone service, the guy sounding like he's in India tells me he's working from home. That angered me, number one. And number two, he says, "Well, I cannot help you to do what you want to do to get a new account. You have to go to this division. I'll forward the call to your call." And I said, "Okay." And I said, "Will I speak to a person?" And he says, "No, it's all on computer." I said, "You guys don't seem to understand. I'm having this problem, and I don't know if I can trust." He says, "You have to trust the computers." And so I call. He transfers the call, and the computer, the very pleasant female voice says, "How can I help you?" and I say, I need, to change my account, and because I have been hacked, and the old account is no longer valid, and she said, I don't understand. by then I'm screaming. So
But
it is just something. If a company
Until you're screaming and answers, I don't understand.
Yeah.
So if a company comes up and says, you call us and we guarantee you will talk to a human being who knows what he's talking about, I bet you that company will be successful.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? Yeah, because now it's like that would be a red flag back in the day if you called and you got the feel that they were not in an office.
Yes.
You hear something in the background. You hear like
Exactly.
here's somebody's cat or something. But now that is kind of business. It has changed everything.
I think T-Mobile was one of the more recent companies that's what they, said. If you call us, you will. And the first thing that's going to answer you is a person. And that was like one of their more recent pitches.
Oh, is that right?
When they merged with Sprint, it's like you will talk to a person, and that actually really helped out their business quite a bit.
I did a story with a guy years ago, and this was in Charlotte when I was working there in media. And the story was that there was going to be all these jobs, and he was opening up a call center. I don't remember what it was, but it was to help people. And he was struggling to find people to fill the positions, and it was pretty good paying jobs.
Right.
It was in the 30s, and
Sure.
it was, you didn't have to have any experience. They would train you. Just had to be pleasant and work with people, and it was supposed to help people with housing or something like. It had something to do with the government. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, he was a really nice guy, and I got to know him because we had a similar interest in motorcycles. But he struggled to fill those positions. So I know that's like a tough thing, and that's like I said, if you were not paying much, that would be one thing. But in that time, it was a pretty good paying job for a starting position.
And I think that's the other problem too, is that because there's such a difficulty in finding people to work, these companies have to go abroad. They have to go overseas. To places where there are a lot of techies who are qualified to answer technical questions. But as we had a discussion with Dr. Rabadi about Russia and China and India and all of these hackers being there, it almost if I don't know what the screening process is. I don't know how the hiring is done. I don't know who these and so you automatically get afraid of providing information. And they say, okay, give us your routing number for your checking account. And I'm saying, whoa,
At least if you get scammed by somebody in India, you got scammed by a scammer inside of a country that it's illegal. But if you call, like Russia, you get scammed by somebody in Russia and China.
Oh,
the
absolutely.
government's gonna be like, ha,
Yeah, exactly.
awesome. That's there are people there that's what they're trying to do that. For just to harm our economy. So it's.
So to go back to our phone call then. So the number we called 3 times.
Yes.
First time the person answered, obviously, and we have it on record. We taped that, and the other 2 times obviously couldn't get through. But how do they have access to all these phone numbers?
They're basically using the internet as a phone. There's services out there. You want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Sometimes, but yeah, there's service you can actually search people who are customers of that. If they're able to access like the ad information, this is me just speculating, because sometimes you search something and then you go on your Facebook and then
He's talking about like the specific the phone service.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering if they get the information from that as well. Like, say if you have your phone attached to your Facebook or something like that. Personally, I would take your phone number off your Facebook. That's just me. But also, if somebody was a victim of a scam, because sometimes that happens too. Like, for example, my grandma's WhatsApp account was hacked. And then everybody who she was friends with got contacted by the person. So that's a possibility too.
But what's confusing, like you said, is you get these numbers because you can set up. There's different services. Google has but you can set up a service and a phone number through the internet, but
Right.
you'll have a local number. There's legitimate reasons for doing that, but people use that to, people. There's have we talked about swatting? Have you heard about that?
No.
That's been making the news a lot lately.
Yeah, so people would or stream their gaming or something like that, or they're streaming online. It's actually happened to some people who are doing live podcasts
Right.
or something like that, and if they can figure out where you are, they set up a fake a number, and then from that number they call the police and say something awful's happening in there. So they call it swatting because the SWAT team shows up because they make up these terrible stories like they're holding hostages, they're shooting people, and and that's been a thing that's been also people in the news. So they're naturally the police are showing up thinking that something bad's happening, and they and because of that they don't always have to show a warrant if they have so they'll people will be sitting there on doing their podcast or playing video games live,
Right.
and somebody thinks it's funny, but all of a sudden the SWAT team busted into your room because they're thinking that somebody's getting shot or somebody's being held hostage or harmed or something, but they do that as a joke, but people have gotten hurt, so it's and killed, yeah.
Wow.
So, and it puts the police in a bad
Yes,
position
yeah.
because it puts
Sure.
but
I think very recently there was a law that was passed at the state level that's basically making it a level 3 federal crime to SWAT.
Yeah.
Basically.
But you could do it from another country,
Yeah.
and then they have no jurisdiction.
Right.
So it's
One thing, I guess, another thing to look up information, and like say if you're looking up properties and stuff
Right.
like that, all the information is right there. Or if you're looking up voter information and stuff like that, that's public.
Right. Right.
there was a website that made a lot
It's
of
very easy to find info.
there was a website that made a lot of people upset. I want to say about 10 years ago. Again, I remember doing a story on it. But you go in, and now there's several. But you go on and you put a person's name in, and it could pull up all this information on them. And people were getting upset, but all it was just compiling all this public information. If you bought a house, where you pay taxes, how you registered to vote, all this stuff. So much of what who you are is out there.
So you no longer can assume that your life is private anymore.
Right.
You're scaring Bertram. He doesn't want to go online.
And and don't leave the house.
Yeah.
And turn off all your computers. Unplug everything. Live in the dark. But I think that before we end, and I appreciate you, Billy, and you, Andy, joining me, and in this experiment. I wish it had gone. I wish the guy had stayed on a little longer, but I think he realized.
Yeah, I was hoping we'd get another crack at it because I wanted to mess with him.
I know. But I think the bottom line is, if you get a telephone call from from somebody who says he's representing a company you do business with, and you're not sure about this, take that person's name, take that number, and then hang up and call the company's official telephone number and say, I've received a call from this number and from this individual. Is he an employee of yours? And it's a legitimate question. Because when I called PayPal after I got scammed, and I said, here's the name of the person, he gave me his badge number, and the guy said, we don't know who that is. We don't have him in our records. He's not an employee.
Mm.
And so that's number one. And number two, obviously, is the fact that, learn not to trust anybody or anything anymore.
That's to say, it's
You've
your lifelong
never
journalist.
trusted anybody.
That's to say, you're a lifelong journalist. That's if they can get you, they can get anybody. And I think that's what because I think a lot of people I know I have been like that until I got that close.
Right.
Where it's like I'm not. That happens to people that don't know anybody. That won't happen to me. But they're just things are changing. They keep finding
and
new
you
ways.
get complacent. You sort of do the same thing every year after year after year, and you're thinking, well, nothing has happened in the past, so this must be legitimate. And I think that's where the problem is. So I'm hoping that these part 1 and part 2 of scamming and hacking for dummies has been instructive, has shed some light on some of the issues that need to be considered, and serves as a cautionary tale for individuals that you cannot take anything for granted if you're online.
No, that's if I don't want to keep adding to the back end. I know we're wrapping up, but if you're cautious and they get upset, that's probably a telltale sign. If it's
Exactly.
a legitimate business, they should not give you a hard time.
Yes.
For being like, I don't know you, like I don't, you know,
Sure.
I wanna check you out first. You called me or whatever. You know, it just seems like they should be professional if they were legitimate. You know,
Right.
and then oftentimes these hackers are not. So.
Well, thank you, Billy. Thank you,
Thank you.
Andy. We'll wait to see what, maybe we'll get a phone call back.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, right after the cameras quit rolling.